say to me in Bowers Game Corner.
Hey there, YouTube. I'm back again for another How to Play video, and today I'm very excited to be teaching you how to play Tic Tac K.O. Dragons versus Unicorns. This is for 2 to 4 players, ages 8+, take about 30 to 60 minutes to play. And the first thing I need to tell you is I'm going to be teaching you how to play a 4-player version of the game first. After that, I will then teach you the 2-player version, the 3-player version, and the advanced version of the game, but you need to know how to play 4 players first. So the first thing you're going to do when you get it set up is you're going to break up into teams. You're going to want to sit next to your team member because you're going to be passing your cards back and forth between you. With your teams decided, you're going to shuffle up the 3 different decks of cards, which are the white back cards, the red back cards, and the blue back cards. And the youngest player is going to decide if they want to be the blue back cards, which is the unicorns, or the red back cards, which is the dragons. The team that doesn't get to pick which cards they get are going to be the first team to go, though. And whoever most recently took out the garbage is actually going to be the first player on that team who's going to go first. The last thing you need to do is make sure that each team has their own secret objective card. You can look at it with your team, but don't show it to the other team. So in order to complete this objective, we would need to have a card in 3, a card in 5, and a card in 7. If you want to play the advanced version of the game, you would also need a card in C, but since we're playing the basic version, we can ignore that blacked out part on the side. Now, before we get into what you're going to do on your turn, I want to show you exactly how the turn order is going to work. So for this example, let's pretend that this is the first player, right here, the one that was on the second team who most recently took out the garbage. They're going to go first, and then it will go across to this player right here, and then it will go like this to this player, and then it will go to this player, and then it will go back to this player. But now let's talk about what you're going to do on your turn. The first thing you're always going to do on every turn is draw a card. This is called the draw phase. The next phase you have on your hand is called the action phase, and you get to make one of 3 choices of what you can do. The first action you can do, and is the most simple, is just draw another card. However, if you did that, you would not get to do any more actions this turn. The other choices you have on your turn are to play a magic card or play a character card. And now's a good time to show the 4 different types of cards that you're going to see in the game. The first one are what are called special cards. So you'll have special dragons, and then you'll also have special unicorns. But whatever the text on the bottom, that's what the card does. So for instance, with the special dragon, when this card enters the grid, you may play a magic card from your hand. So that one's going to give us a bonus free action. There are numerous different special cards in the game. You're always just going to want to read the text on the bottom. The next kind of card you're going to see are basic dragon cards, and these ones don't have any special abilities on the bottom, but they still will work when completing your objectives. Next, we have magic cards, which will tell you exactly what they do on the bottom of the card, so just read that card. And the final card you'll see are instant cards. These can be played at any point, even when it's not your turn. These cards do not cost an action, and you can play numerous cards of these on your turn or on someone else's turn if you have the cards. But now that we know what different types of cards are in the game, let's go back to that turn. So the first thing we're going to do, we're just going to replay this entire turn over here. First thing they'll do is they'll draw a card. And so now they could play a magic card on their turn. I don't think they'll do that. They would most likely play a character card. So let's see what this one does. Players on the opposing team cannot play basic character cards adjacent to this card. So that's a really great card. Let's see where we'd want to place it. You know what? How about we place it right here? Now this is a great time to talk about adjacent in this game. Adjacent is up, down, left, and right. Diagonal does not count, so they could put a basic dragon right here if they'd like to. Also, don't worry about the images on the actual numbers. They're just there for flavor and to make the game look cooler. After you take your action, if you've completed an objective, you'd flip it over now and then discard all the cards that you needed to complete your objective. Once you've done that, you can draw a new objective card. If that happened to be your 3rd completed objective, then you would now immediately win the game. But that's not the case, so this player's turn would be over. And once again, now it would go across the table to this person over here, who first thing they would do is they would draw a card. And they might decide to play their basic card right here. So let's see, they need to go over here. So yeah, they could play that right here or right here to help them out because it's not adjacent to the marrow. And since they don't have a completed objective, their turn would be over, and then it would get to this player right here, who would now take these cards from the other player, because these 2 players and these 2 players are going to be sharing this deck of cards, and they would take their turn, and then this player would take their turn, and then it'd get back to this player, and you would continue to go until 3 objectives have been completed, at which point that team will have won Tic Tac K.O. Dragons versus Unicorns. But now I think it's important to talk about a couple terms that you're going to see on the cards. If you ever have to destroy anything, you're going to move a card on a grid that belongs to an opposing team and then place it into their discard pile. So right there, the blue team would have destroyed the red team's basic dragon. If you don't destroy something, you might do what's called displacing it, and that's where you're going to move a card to a different open space on the grid. Swap means you're going to switch the positions of cards on the grid. And sacrificing, which is the worst of the terms, means you're going to take a character card off the grid and put it into that team's discard pile. So this just got sacrificed. Just in case you forget, you can come back to this portion of the video and put it on pause. Now there's one final rule that I need to mention that can come up, which is called Gridlock. Gridlock happens if there are no empty spaces on the grid at the start of your turn and you cannot or do not want to play a card. This is when the game is considered gridlocked. Each player has one turn to attempt to resolve the gridlock by playing cards. If gridlock has not been resolved after all the players have taken a turn, each team must sacrifice all of their special character cards on the board, and then you keep playing. But now that we've gotten the 4-player version of the game settled, let's talk about the advanced and the 2- and 3-player version of the game. The advanced version, as I mentioned, is just going to add an additional row where you will be able to play cards. So objectives become more difficult. Now, for playing 2 players, each player is going to start by taking a team deck, and at the beginning of the game, each player is going to draw 6 cards instead of 5. During your action phase, you may play 1 character card as normal, or up to 2 magic cards. If you cannot or do not want to play a card, you may still draw a card as normal. But other than that, the game's still the same. You're going to 3 objectives. When you get to 3 players, one team is going to have 2 players while the other only has 1. The solo player will take a turn in between each of the other 2 players. So let's pretend this team has 2 players and this team only has 1 player. This player would go, and then this player, and then this player, and then this player, and then this player. It's just going to bounce back and forth. Also, the solo player is going to draw 7 cards at the beginning of the game, whereas the team will only draw 5 as normal. But that's Tic Tac K.O. Dragons versus Unicorns. If this helped you out, please consider giving it a like. That really helps me out a lot. Also, if you enjoy learning new games, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below. But as always, go have some fun, YouTube.